What is going on YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I am bringing you a super spicy list. This is going to be the LordKnightmon security control that I had on the channel last week for my good friend John. However, from the week that was uploaded to me just getting this list, there were a few card changes, so there are a couple cards in that match that you may see that aren't going to be in this list because he did change up a couple cards, but I am going to bring you the updated list because he says this list is much better. So let's go ahead and get on into it. With the Digitama, we have the 4 Digimon. This can be any red egg. You're never going to Digivolve or promote on top of it, so which one, it doesn't matter. And it can also just be one egg, because like I said, you're never going to promote over it. You're not going to Digivolve, you're not going to promote, so you just want it as the red source for your Gaia Forces and your Transcendent Swords and stuff like that. So whichever red egg you prefer. I'm just following John's list with the 4 Gigis. Then we have 4 Lord Knight and 3 Knightmon. We're only playing 3 regular Knightmon because it does get a little bit clunky in this list, he said. Sometimes you have 2 or 3 in your hand and you hard play them, and they can be sometimes effective, but not as effective as playing something like Transcendent Sword. So they can get a little clunky. Decided to cut it down to 3 so you could put in 1 Sirenmon. The Sirenmon's just a cheap level 5 to drop, make it easier to get to Lord Knightmon. Put your opponent at a way lower cost or memory amount when playing this, so that way next turn you can come back on your turn with 3 memory and then Digivolve into Lord Knightmon and still keep going. So the 3 Knightmon and the 1 Sirenmon to complement it. And we do have the Magna Angelmon as well to get on top of the Lord Knightmon, so there's plenty of targets to get Lord Knightmon out and different ways to do it with different effects. Now we have 2 Mastamon in this list. His explanation for the 2 Mastamon was that it helps 1 in the mirror match, but 2, it works really well with a lot of these deck cards in the deck, as well as there are the 4 Zwart defeats in here, so having a purple Digimon to Digivolve on top of to have your Zwart defeats be a little less clunky if you do draw them in hand was really helpful. We do have a couple cards in the deck that are going to complement Mastamon itself, so we'll get into those when we do get to them. Then we have 2 of the Machinedramon. This is just a de-Digivolve blocker when you hard play, but it's also a black Digimon, so Zwart defeat can go on top of it just like Mastamon, so you don't clunk your Zwart defeats in hand super hard if you do draw them. But Machinedramon is one of those cards where it's really slow some matchups, but sometimes it's really powerful. If you are able to get the Digivolve 2 on a couple Megas, for example, you can get a lot of impact on board while also developing a blocker and giving yourself some more time. Then we're playing the 3 Zwart defeats. We were playing 4, but decided to cut down to 3 because the clunk of them in hand was getting a little too rough. Although we do have these to Digivolve on top of them, drawing and having 2 or 3 of these in hand can be a little too slow. So with 3, it's still highly consistent and it's a little less clunky. You still have a really high chance of recovering into it and putting it in your security stack or having it there. Or like I said, you can Digivolve on top of your Machinedramon and your Mastamon if you need to declunk them. But this is just a great card. You want to play at least 3 to 4. In this list, we felt that 4 was better because, like I said, the clunk was a little too rough in some of these games. Then we have 4 Magna Angelmon, very standard in security control, recover +1, so very powerful for just 7, and then it's your main Lord Knightmon Digivolve target because you want to play this naturally in security control to recover anyway, so then you get Lord Knightmon on top of here and you start going crazy, so very staple, gotta have 4 of. Then we have 4 Shademon. This is just a security trigger Digimon with a blocker, so it's really good to go with the security, gives you more time. It's also a black source for your ultimate flares, and I think he was playing 3 at some point and then went up to 4, so that just because it's one of those cards where you can play it for kind of cheap to have a blocker. Cheap in the way that it's security control, so 6 is kind of cheap, but you can play it for cheaper as well as you can get it for free out of security. It's a blocker and it's really good against like things such as Rookie Rush, so 4 of here. Then we have 1 Gatomon. This card works really well with Mastamon. You Digivolve on top of your Magna Angelmon to play this. You get to recover 1 plus get a blocker, so it's really powerful, but it's also like a budget Magna Angelmon where you can hard play it to recover 1. It is a bit more restrictive and when it works, but it does synergize really well with the Mastamon. It's a little bit of a cheaper card to play, so I do think this card was really interesting in the list, and it makes sense with the Mastamons, but we're just playing 1 of. Then we have 3 Lucemon. This card is obviously works really well with recovering. You want to recover a lot, but it's also going to work really well with the Lord Knightmon because you're going to be dropping your 3 drops. Lucemon's a very fantastic card to drop as a 3 drop in here because you're going to recover. You're going to play a 10k, which is going to get lots of swings or be able to swing over a lot of stuff. 4 Lucemon is very clunky. You could probably get away with playing 2 if you did want to, but this list does play 3, and I think it makes a lot of sense to play 3 to 4 since we have the Lord Knightmons. It is a little bit better than the Magna Angelmon because the Magna Angelmon you mostly want to hard play and it's a little bit weaker as a Digimon in DPY, so with the Lord Knightmon you're going to more consistently be able to drop your level 3s, so the Lucemons are going to be a little bit better in this list. Then we have 3 Bushi. Once again, this is also for LordKnightmon targets, as well as you can potentially just hard play and swing it, but this does give aggression to the deck. As you can tell, this deck does have a lot of aggressive backbones to it because it is a security control, but you want to be offensive with this Lord Knight style list. So we are playing the 3 Bushis along with the Lusamon to be our rookies, so that way we have the aggressive pressure and always have something effective to play off of LordKnightmon when attacking. Then getting into the Tamers, we're going to have 3 TK, 3 Izzy, and then 1 Matt and Ty. The 3 TKs you want to play because you can search for your LordKnightmons or your Knightmons in security, and there's also just a lot of yellow cards that you want to search for. Some lists opt to play a little bit less TKs, but with this LordKnightmon style deck, I think playing more TKs makes more sense because you want to be able to search security and get the cards that you need, especially when you're covering a lot. Izzy makes a lot of sense because you want the Black Source for Ultimate Flare, as well as being able to rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck to draw what you want. And then the Ty and Matt was a last minute change. He actually didn't play this when he gave me the list, but we talked about it after the tournament. This was a purple Kari Kamiya, and he said it just wasn't doing anything for him. It was okay sometimes, but decided to switch this to the Ty and Matt because this boosts the Zwart defeats, as well as it makes it so when your opponent's going to go to Mega, which they have to with this against this deck, you are going to get 2 extra memory, so you can play your high cost cards and put your opponent at a little bit less of a memory cost. So not only does it give you a little bit more aggression with your Zwart defeats, but it does make it so your opponent doesn't get to do as many crazy plays by having 2 less memory every time this does activate. Now, getting into the option cards, we have the 4 Ultimate Flare. This is super standard. This card's basically a board clear in a lot of scenarios. Obviously, if your opponent's smart, they're going to play around the Ultimate Flares building up before they start swinging in, but when you hard play this, you can catch some people off guard, de-devolving their Mega, clearing off a bunch of rookies, essentially saving you a bunch of time. Yes, you're going to give your opponent a lot of memory if you hard play this, but the thing about security controls, you're always giving your opponent a lot of memory, so it doesn't really matter. And then if they hit this in security, it's a lot of times very devastating and can save you a couple checks that turn. So you want to play 4 to make sure you have ultimate consistency of this. Now the red options, we have 4 Gaia Force, we have 3 Transcendent Sword, and we have 2 Trident Revolvers. I'm not 100% sure the reasoning why he plays 3 Transcendent Sword over 4, but I do think you probably have to find some cards to cut to make room for a lot of these other cards that are in this deck. So maybe one of the Transcendent Swords. The 2 Trident Revolvers make sense. You have a lot of Tamers to play off of this, but playing this too much can be a little clunky because there's a lot of times where you want to deal more damage, like the 11k, or just straight up deleting a Digimon that Gaia Force can provide you. So the Trident Revolver is really good for deleting things like weaker ultimates like Angelmon, or deleting most champions, and as well as getting you free Tamers. So these are it for the options, and that is going to do it for the list. So I hope you enjoyed. This list is super crazy. It's super fun. I am going to have more matches with this list on the channel here soon. I am going to be uploading store championship content over the next couple days because I do have 3 store championships over the course of today and tomorrow. But after that, we will be having a bunch of other new fun matches with these type of decks, such as this and the Shine Greymon we just posted. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a great day. Peace out.